Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Hey, private practice heroes. Thanks for tuning into the podcast today. I'm your host, Colaiacovo, and today we're getting into something that comes up a lot in strategy sessions when I'm reviewing client work and looking at someone's client load. Because you can have a very clear ideal client profile and still struggle to grow your practice. Not because your marketing isn't working. Sometimes this happens because it's attracting the wrong type of ideal client. And this can really surprise practice owners when we discover this. You can have a very clear niche, a lot of them think they do, and yet still be marketing to the wrong version of your ideal client. Now, I don't mean wrong as in bad, but wrong in terms of who actually stays and does the work and sees the results by working with you. Which, by the way, when you have clients like this, helps you build a more stable and growing practice. And this is one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. And here's what I mean. I often see practitioners attracting clients who sound like a great fit on paper. But in reality, those folks are canceling, they're dropping off, they don't follow through, or they disappear after a few sessions and they don't finish what could be great work together. Then the practitioner is wondering why their practice feels inconsistent or harder to grow than it should. But at the same time, when we look at their client load and really analyze it, there's usually another group, another type of ideal client already there. It's the clients who stay longer with them, who do the work, and who get the results they were after. But the marketing the practitioner's been doing or the business owner's been doing isn't really focused on bringing more of those people in. Some of their messaging is actually bringing in the ones who are going to drop off. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through how to spot the difference between those different ideal clients and how you can shift your marketing so that you're attracting more of the clients who follow through and stay longer, which helps you grow your practice. Because marketing is hard enough already. You do not need to make it any harder by filling your calendar with clients who are not going to stick around. So let's build on this. Sit back and listen in, because when you really look at your client load, the people you're working with, that is where things can start to get interesting. Most practice and business owners are not working with just one type of client. They always have more than one, and sometimes more ideal ones than others. But that ideal fit can often be mistaken for one another. There's usually two patterns that are happening at the same time. You have that one group of clients that find you and they book with you and they feel like a fit, but they don't stay. They cancel, they reschedule, they stop showing up, or they leave before the real work even starts. And then there's the second group. They're the ones who stay consistent. They show up, they do the work, they get results. These are the people who are really motivated to work with you, and they value the work you're doing together. Often when you look closer, that second group are the clients that you actually enjoy working with the most. But the first group, those clients are typically not your true ideal client. They're the wrong version of the ideal client. They might look like a fit. They might say the right things, but they're really not ready for the level of work you do with people. And that's why they don't stay. And when this happens, when you bring in more of those clients, you end up stuck in a cycle. You're booking the new clients, great. But then you're replacing them as they leave. And you're constantly trying to refill your calendar, which means you're struggling to do more marketing to bring in more clients. But when you shift your messaging and your marketing focus to the clients who stay longer, who follow through, and who work hard to try and get the results, everything starts to feel more stable. And Here's how things get off track and why you might be targeting the wrong version of your client. When we do this type of deeper dive in a strategy session, I often find that most of the client's marketing is focused on attracting that first group, the ones on paper who seem more like the dream ideal client. They fit the mold of the ideal client profile. They are the ones who are interested, which is good. But if they're not fully committed, you have to ask, are they really the right ideal client for you? When you realize what happens when these clients are the main focus of your marketing, sure, you might be constantly bringing in new clients. But because they're not as committed, they quit faster. And now you're constantly replacing them. And that's where that feeling of always needing to do more marketing comes from, always needing more leads, always trying to fill the spots that just opened up again. And this happens because too many of your spots are getting filled with the clients who really aren't fully committed to doing the work they need to get the results. One of my clients inside the Strive Marketing Academy had an aha moment one time during one of our private marketing sessions. We were doing what we typically do at the beginning of those, which is reviewing the client load. There's so much data in that. Never skip checking out and analyzing who your clients are, where they came from. That tells you a lot about your marketing. And she had several new clients that were looking to lose weight, but a couple of them were also clients who had a motivation that they wanted to lose the weight for their wedding day. Now, no matter how much they felt they wanted a change and that they wanted to follow the non-diet approach, they simply were not as motivated in making that happen when they realized how hard it might be to make that long-lasting change, even though they said that's what they were looking for. Instead, they got lulled back to those diets that everybody promises will work fast and easy, and they went after those instead to try and make sure they looked good on their wedding days. She had about 3 clients quit on her that year for a very similar type of reason. And it was an eye-opener when we discussed it all and really analyzed what happened with the clients. Once she realized how different those people were from her other clients, how even though they had similar goals, those slight differences that kept them motivated to make the changes make happen were the big difference that made them a wrong version of the ideal client. The clients that were different were very super focused on doing what it takes to make those changes. And that meant they ended up being a more ideal client than those pending wedding, I got to lose the weight no matter what clients. Now, it's not that the wedding clients were bad clients. They're just not as ideal because they never really were a true fit. They will always have that other reason that drives them to fall off the wagon, so to speak. And that means they're not going to stay as long. When clients drop off at those high rates, instead of booking with you for months and even years and getting the real help they need, that means less stability with your own client base and the revenue for your practice, and doing more marketing to continually try to fill those spots. And this is the part most people don't connect from their ideal client profile to having a successful and profitable practice. It's not just about who you enjoy working with. Those not as truly ideal clients are going to directly impact how much marketing you have to do to keep your practice full. So if you want more stability in your practice and your revenue, it may mean making a small shift in your marketing message and your plans. And the shift is not about changing your niche completely. That's not what we're doing here. It's about choosing which version of your ideal client you want more of and targeting them. Because both groups can technically fit your niche and your ideal client profile, but they don't help build your practice in the same way. One group creates turnover and the other one creates stability. Your marketing and the messages you put out there play a big role in which one you attract more of to your practice. Recognizing the very subtle difference in those ideal client profiles and really knowing your clients inside out and knowing what motivates them on the deepest levels and using that information in your marketing will help you make that shift. Think back to your own client list and the last 3 clients who did not stay as long as others. What was the reason behind them leaving and quitting? A client working through an eating disorder and a client who wants to lose weight for an event can both say they want to change their relationship with food, but they're not coming in with the same motivation and the same reason, which means they don't have the same level of commitment. One is doing work that affects their day-to-day life and their well-being and their overall health. The other is working toward a short-term outcome. So they can sound the same in your marketing, but they don't show up the same in your practice. You've got to be able to recognize the difference between someone who needs ongoing support to manage their health and someone who is just testing things out to see what works. Both can be ideal clients, but one is far more likely to stay, follow through, and do the work over time. When your marketing message speaks to those, that's when you're going to find a difference in who you're attracting and who is actually staying. So how do you figure this out? Well, the easiest way in your action steps from today's lessons are to pull up your client list and analyze who is on it, how long they worked with you, and look for patterns. And just to be clear, this is very common. Most practice owners go through this kind of shift and change at some point, but you don't often actually see it and understand it till you stop and take the time to look at the client patterns. So go and look at your list and find those patterns. Look at who stayed with you the longest, who follows through and gets results. And then look at the other side. Who's canceling often? Who's dropping off early? Who is not continuing past the first few sessions, let alone the first initial consult even? From all of this information, you can identify what was different about their motivation and the reasons for coming to you, and compare those patterns to your current marketing message. You want that message to focus on attracting the clients who value your service and are willing to stay consistent. Speaking to their motivation and their really deep problems in your marketing is going to help you do that. And I do want to mention that if you're not already tracking who stays, who drops off, and how long clients work with you, where they came from, what they say on your first calls, that is one of the first things you need to start paying attention to. It is something I have my clients track using my client consult tracking form and also the free marketing stats tracking template that I offer to anyone who wants to download it off my website. There is a lot of valuable information in keeping this tracking data that can guide a lot of your marketing. And it really does not take a lot of time to fill that out after you have a call or after you work with a client. So once you gather this info and you have it all and you do this check, now you want to ask yourself, is the marketing that you're doing focused on speaking more to the clients who stay or the ones who leave? If it's focused mainly on the ones who leave, or you're missing some messaging that speaks to the ones you work with longer term, that's where your gap is. And that's where you make a shift and adjust your messaging. Not to exclude people, but to put more focus on the clients who are ready for the level of work you actually do. Those clients are already out there, and you're likely working with some of them. Your job now is to make sure that your marketing brings more of them in. This is part of the pillar of messaging that we focus on, and one of the core pieces I teach inside the Thrive Marketing Academy. Because marketing and messaging has to be geared to those real ideal clients that you want to work with, the right version of them, because they're the ones who are going to help you grow your practice. And what that can look like is shifting how you talk about the problems they have. So instead of speaking to quick fixes or short-term goals, you start to include in it some of the things that people talk about when they look to the long-term future and the commitment and what they truly want for results. Because the clients who are ready for that, they will recognize themselves in your message. And this will drive more bookings for consults and booking new clients. And the best part is they are going to be clients who are more invested in working with you long term. If you're not sure how to see this in your own practice, don't guess. This is one of the things that we look at in the free marketing reviews I offer as part of the podcast. Because this shift in your marketing and who you're targeting with your marketing could be the very shift you need to move from struggling to growing your practice and having that stable long-term business that I know most of you dreamed of when you opened your business or your practice in the first place. This is an area we can definitely tackle on one of those free marketing reviews. So if you're not sure how to assess your own client load and figure out what is the best type of client to be targeting for your practice with your marketing, then reach out and book a review with me. It really is free, and I'd love to help you get this insight into your own practice so you can start booking more of those true dream clients, the ones who are going to make your marketing easier and your practice see more success with a stable load and flow of clients. There will be a link to where you can book that review in the show notes wherever you're listening to the podcast. And this is Kathy Colaiacovo signing off. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And remember, to thrive in practice or business means building your marketing and your messaging around the clients who stay, do the work, value what you have to offer, not the ones who will come and go. I'll see you next time. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.